Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our presentation on career and technical education revenue funding. Glad to have you here with us. My name is Shelley Souls, and I am the Career and Technical Education Coordinator at the Minnesota Department of Education. And with me today, I have Jan Carlson. She is a school finance specialist at the Minnesota Department of Education. And Jan, I'm going to let you go ahead and start us off today.
Okay, what is the Career and Technical Education revenue? It's a state-approved program that has a levy aid component to it. The revenue amount is calculated on 35% of the lower of the approved expenditures submitted in the CTE levy reporting system or the audited UFARS costs reported to MDE. In 2014, the CTE revenue changed to an equalized aid and levy program, which includes a revenue guaranteed amount based on the previous year. I'm going to turn it back over to Shelley to talk about the CTE levy reporting system and how districts report their CTE costs.
Thank you, Jan. So today we're going to spend time looking at two different things. I'm going to start our presentation out talking about the actual CTE levy web-based reporting system, what that looks like when you go onto the system and actually get into entering the object codes in the programs that are approved. After I'm done showing you the online reporting system, Jan is going to talk about some of the calculations that you're going to be doing before and potentially after you enter those costs in or those expenditures into the system. So the CTE levy web-based reporting system is something that you as a business manager are going to enter usually twice a year. So it's not something you're going to be doing every day. It's going to be something that each time this comes up in the spring and summer, you're going to forget what you did last spring and summer. And so you're going to probably need to refer to a user guide or a manual. I did just complete the update in January of 2021, completed the update to our user manual. That will be on our MDE CTE levy webpage, so you're able to access that there. I also send out information when I remind you that it's time to go into the web-based reporting system. So those 2 times of the year that you will be entering information are usually, like I said, the spring and summer. In the spring, you enter anticipated CTE program expenditures for the next year. So starting May 1 of 2021 until early June, you will be entering your anticipated expenditures for the school year 2021-2022. It's a best guesstimate at that time. You don't need to have exact numbers down to the penny. We're asking you to give us an idea. I know sometimes contracts aren't completed and you obviously don't know what supplies are going to cost. So that's a best guesstimate at that time for what the upcoming expenditures will be. That's when you're entering your budget. Then you're going to get back on the system we'll open it on July 1 and it'll be open until mid-September. You're going to be entering your actual expenditures for the prior year. So that is the current year we're in right now, the 2020-2021 school year. So you'll be on the web-based reporting system twice each year, once to enter your anticipated expenditures for CTE and once to enter your actual expenditures for career CTE, which we're using the acronym CTE. That stands for Career Technical Education. So step one, before any expenditures can be either anticipated or counted as actual expenditures, the Career Technical Education program needs to go through a program approval process with our unit. So all districts are on a 5-year cycle, unless there's a new program that can be entered at any time. And all program approvals are processed, they're due November of the year your district is up for that 5-year cycle. By March of each year, we are complete and we have the new programs or updated program list, and we send that list down to our data system, and they are then creating a list of approved programs for each and every district. That list can be found on our website. There's a link in this PowerPoint to that list, and I'll reference it again at the very end when I share some additional resources. Now, a lot of times people think that CTE program approval is just a licensed teacher. It's not. There's actually quite a bit that goes into the program approval process. Probably as a business manager, you will be most concerned about teacher licensure, but I just wanted you to be aware that there is also a requirement of student leadership, advisory committees, 2 or more courses, and there's also a superintendent sign-off. So after step one, after each district has a CTE program approval, then your school district, Iowa, grants access to the CTE online or the CTE web-based reporting system. Each school district is assigned 1 CTE district user and 1 CTE district administrator. For some of you smaller districts, the district administrator can do both roles. So if there's a superintendent out there that is entering and reviewing and approving the expenditures and the anticipated expenditures, that's fine. But know that there cannot be more than 1 district user or district administrator per school district. So the CTE district user is usually you, the person who's watching this video, and the CTE district user is the person who will log on to our web-based reporting system and enter the budget or the anticipated expenditures, as well as the actual expenditures for career and technical education. So now that we have that, I'm going to actually take you to show you what you're going to put into the anticipated expenditures and show you some examples of what the website looks like. So as I mentioned, anticipated CTE expenses are a best guesstimate of your budget for career technical education. And those budgets are entered from May 1 to early June. They do require that the district has program approval, and these expenditures are sent to school finance in late June. So Jan gets all these, and your CTE aid appears on IDEAS and the IDEAS system in July. So just so you're kind of understanding how that works. This is our career and technical education revenue web-based reporting system. This is a screenshot of what our web page looks like. So in order for you to get information, like I mentioned, there is a CTE Levy web-based reporting system user guide. I did just update that. It's not on the website now. There is a memorandum that will go to superintendents, both when the levy system opens for anticipated budgets and actuals. You will also be receiving a copy of that memo. And then here is where you can click to enter the actual web-based reporting system. So just a little bit about what the web page looks like and what you can expect to do those couple times a year. Once you get into the system, you've entered your credentials, you will see a list of all of the approved programs that are in the database for your district. This is a district that has, as you can see, quite a few approved programs, and they have listed their budget amounts for the upcoming school year. How those budgets amounts appear on the front page is by clicking on the program code and then entering simply under the totals column what the total is. Now I get calls all the time that say, I can't enter anything in classroom support or contracted services at this time. And you're right. When the system is open for anticipated expenditures, the only cell that's open and live is this totals button here. At that time, when you're entering anticipated budgets, we're not asking you to break any of that out. We're simply asking for a total of what the best guesstimate of expenditures will be for the upcoming year. Now, we're going to close that system out and reopen it to you for you to enter your actual CTE program expenses. That'll be open in July, and you'll have until this year, it's actually September 10th of 2021, immediately following the close of the school year and your fiscal year. You'll be able to enter what the actual expenditures from your approved career technical education programs were. Again, just as a reminder, this does require that you have an appropriately licensed teacher teaching in the program at the time. We're not able to fund teachers if they are teaching in a CTE program unless they're properly licensed. Once you enter all that information, the reports are submitted to Jan Carlson in School Finance, and she reconciles that with your UFARs, and she'll talk a little bit about that later in our presentation today. So this is what the screen looks like again when you log in and enter your credentials. This time we're going to be entering our actual expenditures. So here's another school district, and they're ready to enter what their actual expenditures were for the school year. So they're going to click on, they have all 4 of these programs approved with a licensed teacher. They're going to click on any one of these program codes that are in blue, and that will get them to the screen where they can enter their actual expenditure amounts. Now you'll see here that the budget we mentioned before, you're not entering any of those cells. When it comes time to enter your actuals, you are entering in those individual cells. Notice too that their budget may be very different than what their actual expenditures were. That's okay. We don't need you, like I said, to have the exact amount when you're budgeting. We do like to see them fairly close. And if there is a very large difference, we will reach out to you and ask, kind of just do an inquiry on what that looks like. So during actual expenditures, we're asking you to enter into these individual fields. Now, in order to enter into the classroom support, which is where you enter teacher salary, all of you are doing this. You are going to enter another screen that asks you to enter the teacher salary and their potentially extended salary. This is the screen you'll fill out. The system will actually make this chart above. You're not able to manipulate the chart above. You're only able to manipulate based on what you put in these questions here. I want to assure you that even though I'm going rather quickly, there is a user guide and it walks you through step by step. I do want to assure you as well that I am always available for questions, and I will walk you through this if you need help as well. Because you're probably not going to remember this come July, right? July, August, and September when you go into the system and do it. So after you've entered all the information, what we're looking for on our end is that you as the district user have gone in and entered the actual expenditures, and that your CTE district administrator has gone in, reviewed, and approved those expenditures. Our unit will not review your expenditures unless we see that your district status is approved. And that again means that you've gone in and entered and your district administrator has gone in and approved. So that was a lot of information about the web-based reporting system and how to get on. I again assure you there is a user guide. I'm here to help. Now I'm going to hand it over to Jan, and she is going to talk about the financing, the finance system that you use at your school and how you should be making sure you're coding things correctly.
Thanks, Shelley. I'm going to talk about some important dates that you should keep in mind. September 15th is the first time that districts are required to submit their UFARS data. You can submit it earlier than that, but that is a state statute date that you have to have your first submission in on September 15th. Shelley mentioned that September 10th would be the final day that you'd be able to enter actual expenditures in the CTE levy web-based reporting system. November 30th is the final date for UFARS data. So that would be your final submission. December 31st is when your CPAs have to have their audits in. And then by January 31st, MDE, try to finalize the CTE aid entitlement. All career and tech education expenditures need to have a finance code of 830. They will be in balance sheet 422. And then just a reminder that children with disabilities is funded through the ACTE SP Special Ed Revenue Program through the EDRS. So there is a distinction between the disabilities and the regular education. The following objects and program codes are the codes that I pull when we start to look at your expenditures and start the calculation where we use the 35%. As you can see, the program codes are listed there. And then the only object codes that we pull, yes, you have other expenditures, you have benefits, you have equipment, but those are not eligible for the 35%. I'm going to go through some of the object codes. One of the reminders of object code 140 is to pay licensed personnel. Now is a good time to check with Pelsby to make sure that all your teachers are licensed correctly, so that they have the appropriate license when it comes time to submit those expenditures. This also includes extended contracts, which could be contracts for curriculum writing. And so that expense should be in the 140. The 143 is for salaries paid to another Minnesota school district, and it could for instructional purposes. Object code 304 and 305 is contracted services provided by a public agency other than a Minnesota school district and cooperative center. Object 365 is travel for licensed staff between building sites or travel by licensed staff for vocational student organization activities held within the state for instructional purposes. Object Code 365 and 366 are codes for CTE licensed staff that attend conferences, workshops, conventions, help with their and then Object Code 406, 433, and 490 is for instructional supplies used in the CTE programs. On slide 21, it shows how the different revenue sources are recorded at the district level. So if you receive CTE aid, you'll want it in Finance Code 830, Source Code 300. If you are being reimbursed for tuition or reimbursed for cost that you contract with another district for, that would be in Source Code 21. You record the levy in Source Code 001, and we referenced the expenditures earlier, which program cost, program codes, and object codes to use, but we also refer you to the grid in Chapter 10 for the acceptables. And then again, we know that the transition disabled is in program 380. I'm going to go into a sample of costs where districts are sharing from one to the other, where you're maybe doing one with a neighbor. A district that employs a licensed teacher would use the UFARS Code 830 only for the portion of the instructional time that their employee is teaching in that district. If they're selling instructional time to a neighboring district, the amount that the contract is for should be used in UFARS Finance Code 000. When districts purchase the services and pay the invoices from the district holding the contract, the district would use that Finance Code 830, Object Code 396 for the salary, 397 for the benefit, 390 for payments for educational purposes. Other costs such as travel and overhead, the district that holds the contract would receive the money in Source Code 21. On the next page is an example where we have District A hires a full-time licensed teacher for $50,000 to work 180 school days. District A sells 20% of the licensed teacher's time to the neighboring District B. District A purchased $190 worth of supplies that were used by District B, and District A reimbursed the teacher $500 for the cost of mileage. So on the first line, it shows what District A would record for the instructional time the teachers in their district. They would still record the benefits. Line 3 is how you would record the time that they're in the District B, and that's the amount that you're going to be billing District B. And on 24 is what District B, how District B would record that invoice. So they have $10,000 worth of salary that they purchased from A. They would code it in that 396. Any benefits, they would put in 397. Instructional supplies that they have to reimburse District A for. And then any other cost would go in 390. And then it shows that District A, who held the contract, how they would record the receipt from District B. Some districts participate in CTE programs with their cooperatives, and that is allowed, but at the same time, we have to share the revenue with the cooperatives. So on the next page, it shows a school district that has an agreement with a cooperative. And when that cooperative did the budget, that $85,000, 309.80 showed up on their cover page. And when the cooperative goes in and enters their actual amounts, that amount will also show up on that district's. So they can see how much they have to pay the cooperative for being in that agreement. Members of a cooperative that use career and tech programs through the cooperative-based enrollment participation, it shows how they should code those expenditures. The program codes should be whatever program code the class is. The object code, of course, is 394. And then the cooperative has to receipt that money back and use the same revenue stream or source code of 021 that a district would use. And then we're going to go out and show you where you can get the CTE aid reports throughout on the MDE website, underneath the data center, and then data report and analytics, underneath the school funding reports. You would want to put in your school number and then choose the category as the aid entitlement reports. You could enter a year or leave it all and just select it by report type. And then like all the different years would appear. That's where you'll see the career and technical education aid reports. If you are participating with a co-op, the co-ops have their own allocation reports still underneath the funding, but this time you would have to put in the co-op number, not the district number. And then those would show up, and then you could see how their allocations for like all the districts that participate, you could see an up-to-date amount of how that is done. And back then to the CTE aid report. Just a reminder that the CTE revenue is calculated off of the approved costs, the lesser of the approved costs from the CTE levy reporting system or the amount reported on UFARs. And just a reminder that it's really important, you should print out from your accounting system by those program cost and object codes before entering into the CTE reporting system, because if the CTE reporting system is the same as the UFARs, you're going to maximize your revenue at the district. If one of those is lower, we're going to take the 35% from that. So we try to make sure that you guys are maximizing your revenue, and we'll reach out to you to try to figure out if it's the CTE reporting system that's lower or if there's an error with the UFARs. So we are here to help try to maximize your revenue. And like Shelley said, you know, we're around for questions in any way that we can help with the CTE program. And then I'm going to just turn it back to Shelley to go over the resources.
Thank you, Jan. So just again, some resources for you. This is a live link. So when you receive the PowerPoint, you can click on the link that will take you to the current technical education levy web-based reporting system. There's also a link for you to see what Jan showed you, the CTE aid entitlement reports. And then just another link here to our MDE CTE page that will give you access to the manual and the memorandums that go out about what the due dates are for the specific reporting. Also, some information about humans you can contact. So if you ever need just specific help from myself or Jan, or there's also someone available at the UFAR's help desk, please reach out, email us, call us, and we will be sure to walk you through and explain, help you explain if you need to explain to someone else, give you the right language to use. Because again, as Jan mentioned, we do want you to maximize what your expenditures are and make sure that you're maximizing your revenue. And with that, Jan, do you have any last things to add? Otherwise, we're going to say thank you for listening and please reach out as needed.
No, I don't. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day.